get lost inside my thoughts, and when I start to think, oh, the tunnel closest starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe.
Hello guys, it's your boy Anime Squad 101 here, back with another video today. And today we're doing What If Deku Had the Speed Force Part 1. Sorry I haven't been posting too often or frequently. Trying to get that under control. I know during the summer I can easily do that, but now I can't. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, the way this is going to start off is that we cut to a little green-haired kid running from a small mob of kids, yelling at him, saying, "You quirkless loser!" Different things to insult him and everything. And Deku is running. And he is not running fast enough. And he gets beat to a bloody pulp. He is knocked out, and all the kids just run away. Because they don't want to be by this if any adults see this. And Deku wakes up, and he starts walking to his house. When he gets to his house, Inko runs to him saying, "Oh my gosh, Deku, are you okay? Maizuku, are you okay?" Deku just going like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And Inko just saying, "Where were you?" Deku just saying, "It was nothing." And then Inko said, "Why are you so beat up and bruised?" Deku's like, "Oh, I might have fell down a hill." Inko just like, "Oh my gosh, Shizuku, don't do that again," you know. And yeah, then his dad walks in, and I'm gonna say that Hisashi's still around. If you know why, you know why. If not, you don't know until later. And he's like, "Oh, Deku, what happened to you?" Deku's just like, I fell down a hill." And his dad looks at him with the look just saying, "You sure about that?" Deku's just like, "Fine, I was beaten up by a few of the kids at my school." His mom just like, "Oh my gosh, who did this to you?" Deku's just like, it's no big problem." His dad said, "Did you at least win?" Inko just like, "Hisashi!" Hisashi's just like, "What? Just asking, have to know." And Deku's just like, "No, I didn't." And yeah, that happens. So we skip to that night. Deku wakes up and he sees his small fish tank, or the water in the fish tank, start rising. He runs downstairs to see lightning surrounding his mother over and over and over again. Deku's just like, "Mom, what's happening?" As then his father comes and just says, "Izuku, get out of here!" Deku's just like, what's happening?" As then he is suddenly whisked away outside. Deku, not knowing what happened, he only remembers being in the house, and now he doesn't even know where he is. So Deku starts walking around, and he finds his way back home. He walks in, and a bunch of police officers are outside and inside the room, or the house. He walks in, and he sees a body bag. He opens up the body bag to see his dead mother, dead Inko, just lying there. Deku starts crying, and then before he could fully process the emotions, he sees his dad starts getting dragged out of the house in handcuffs. You hear him yelling, "I didn't do this to my wife! Please! You must understand, I did not do this!" Then Deku just runs over to him and just like, "Dad, what's happening?" And Hisashi just says, just go with the cop. You'll be okay. As he's put in the cop car, Deku's just like, Dad, Dad, and then a police officer pats him on the back and says, there. We'll have to question you a little, but we'll find you a home. Deku's just like, what's happening? And then they ask Deku about what he saw, and he says he saw lightning surrounding his mother. The officer just saying, lightning here? Well, I mean, it could be a villain, but the only villain with lightnings in this area, he's behind bars. Here, son, we'll look for your family in the morning. Here, you can stay at my house for tonight. Deku is saying, okay. And then they look for parents to adopt him. And I'm going to say, yeah, he still gets adopted by Joe West. And he is introduced to his daughter, Iris. And they take him in, and Deku runs away now and then, but not as much as Barry did back then. Because, yes, he does want to look for his dad, but he knows that there's not much that he can do. So, he is just training to become a hero. And let's just say, like a month after all this happened, he is taken to the quirk doctor so they can figure out what his quirk is. And they check and they say, I'm sorry, but he does not have a quirk. And Joe is saddened by this, so is Izuku. But Joe makes Grandma's Esther's best, what was it, macaroni dish or something? I don't remember. And Deku, I'm just going to say that's his favorite dish from Grandma Esther's. And that cheers him up. So years go by, and Deku is bullied and everything. I'm going to say that Iris somewhat protected him. Kind of like Mikasa, but not to the extent. I'm just going to say her quirk is an enhancement quirk, I guess. I don't know. I might change that or retcon it in a later part, but I don't know. And the sponsor for this video, water, is healthy for you. Drink it. Delicious. So yeah. Deku is walking back to his house. Iris is at her club meeting or whatever. And then he hears a strange noise. Oh, shoot. I forgot to say. Time jump to the end of the anime. Not the end of the anime. Beginning of the anime, end of middle school. He is walking back. Iris is at her club meeting. And he hears a strange noise behind him. He looks around to see the sludge villain. And then the sludge villain just says, "Hey kid, I need your body. Nothing personal." And Deku's is like, "Ah!" As the sludge villain dashes at him and starts choking him to death. And Deku's just like, "Is this how this ends? It's been a crummy life." And then he hears, "I am here! Texas Smash!" As Deku is falling to the ground, he's like, "Wait, All Might? That can't be." As he goes unconscious. He wakes up for All Might to see All Might tapping him on the face repeatedly, saying, "You there, you there, you there?" Deku's just like, "All Might?" All Might's just like, "I see you're awake, young kid. It's good to see you're okay. I thought we lost you there for a minute." Deku just saying, "All Might!" And pretty much goes off on his rant. And yeah, that pretty much stays the same. He still gets his notebook autographed, and yeah, Deku still jumps onto All Might's leg. All Might realizing this is just like, oh shoot, I need to land. And then he still scolds Deku, and Deku still asks him, can a quirkless kid become a hero? All Might, with a saddened face, says, no, they can't. They would get in the way, and they might die. So, no, I don't think a quirkless kid can become a hero. Become a cop instead. You can still do fine work. And Deku's just like, yeah, sure. And then, what was he gonna say? Then All Might jumps off. Deku's just like, well, that didn't work. And then Deku remembers one thing that he was surprised that he forgot about till then. That Star Labs was gonna release their particle accelerator to the world, and it would greatly benefit the science world as he knew it. And Deku started dashing down the stairs to the ground and starts dashing to Star Labs. On the way, he hears a giant explosion. Deku looks over and starts running towards that direction because why not? There's an explosion. Something's happening. And he sees the sludge villain with a kid in there. And the heroes are not doing anything. Deku is thinking, why aren't the heroes doing anything? Then he hears someone murmur, well, I mean, there is a kid in there. Deku's just like, wait, there's someone in there? As he gets a better look, and he sees that it's Bakugo. Then Midoriya still has that recollection of like, oh no, this is all my fault. All Might must have trapped the sludge villain. That. And yeah, that pretty much happens. Deku runs over there, and while he's running, he hears a second explosion. As a giant wave of something comes to them, and this is actually the particle accelerator exploding. And while Deku is running, he's still he's like halfway from where the crowd is and where Bakugo is, and the sludge villain. Midway, a lightning bolt just strikes him dead on. Everyone, even the sludge villain, is like, holy shit! What just happened? As then, when everyone gets done with their shocked state, the sludge villain drops he doesn't drop Bakugo. He runs away, and Bakugo just gets caught on like a construction beam that was just happened to be there. And the sludge villain's just like, dang it, I lost my meat shield, but I can't go back now. As he gets away. And then the medics arrive and they take Deku to a hospital. And 9 months passed. Oh, and the entrance exam, I'm gonna say it's like a I'm gonna say the people that want to get into UA has like a 15-month time instead of 10 months. Deku just opens his eyes and quickly jerks up and is just like, where am I? See himself at like a lab looking place. And he then realizes there are two people by him. A girl with brown hair and a guy with long black hair. And the guy with long black hair is like, oh, he's awake, as he starts running over to where some computers are and just says, Dr. Wells, you're needed in the cortex. And then Deku's just like, Dr. Wells, what? Where am I? And then the brown-haired girl just says, it's hard to believe, but you're in Star Labs right now. After you got hit by a thunderbolt, or lightning bolt, and you've been in a coma for 9 months. Deku's just like, 9 months? Where's my mom? And they're just like, don't worry, we're calling her now. As they call up Inko, they tell Deku that Inko's on her way, and then a man in a wheelchair comes in. Deku recognizes this man as Harrison Wells. Deku's just like, oh my gosh, are you Harrison Wells, the one of the leading men in the science industry? Uh, Wells is just like, haven't been called that in a while. Deku's just like, what do you mean? Then Dr. Wells explains that his particle accelerator exploded and it made people gain powers. Deku's just like, what do you mean? Just like gave people quirks? And he's just like, well, not exactly. Even quirkless people have been given quirks, and quirked people have been given more powers. Deku's just like, what? And he's just like, here, let me explain it better. And he explains everything. Deku's just like, oh, so could I technically have a powers? And I'm gonna say, well, it's just like, I mean, it's possible, but we'll have to do some tests. I mean, you did get hit by a lightning bolt, and you shouldn't be able to move so freely since you've been in a coma for 9 months. Deku's just like, yeah, you're probably right. Now that you think about it, it is weird that I'm able to move so freely. And after all, I've been in a coma. And they do some tests, and they see that he has somewhat of a regeneration ability or something. Because they prick him a few times, and they see how he heals quickly. So Deku's just like, oh, it's a regeneration power, and they're just like, yeah, seems so. Deku's like, okay. As his mother starts rushing in, and she starts dashing like she's an Olympian through Star Labs and runs into the cortex to see Deku. She's like, oh my gosh, oh shoot. Iko's dead. I'm gonna say Joe walks in, just like, oh my gosh, Izuku, you scared me there for a little. And Deku's just like, Joe, how have you been? As Joe gives him a playful punch in the shoulder, just like, well, you've been scaring me to death this 9 months. Deku just chuckles and is just like, yeah, sorry about that bit. Joe just chuckles and say, no problem. As long as you're okay now, that's all that counts. Deku's just like, thanks. As then he looks over to the 3 people that he knows as Wells and 2 others. He just says thank you. And then Deku's like, wait, I don't even know the other 2. What are your names? Then they say, I'm Caitlin. The brown-haired girl says, I'm Caitlin Snow. As the black long-haired man says, I'm Cisco Ramon. Yeah, that was his name. Cisco Ramon. Deku's just like, I see. Thank you so much, as he bows over and over. All 3 of them say, it's no problem. As Deku's just like, thank you again. As he goes back home, as soon as Iris sees him walk back, she dashes to him and hugs him. He's just like, oh my gosh, Zuko, you're home. Never do that again to me, okay? Deku's just like, I'm not planning to. And then Deku smells something. He's like, what's that? And then Iris says, that's Grandma Esther's macaroni dish. The one, your favorite, right? Deku's just like, yeah, you know me. As she's like, I might have went a bit overboard with the food. Deku's just like, oh, how bad could it be? As when he walks in, he sees 5 big bowls of that macaroni. Deku's just like, oh, that overboard. She's like, yeah, sorry about that one. Deku's just like, it's no problem. Joe, how are we gonna eat this? Joe's like, don't ask me. And they're just like, they have an awkward moment, and then they just eat dinner. And that is the end of that day. The next day, Deku's walking around to get a bearing of how the world has changed as he crosses the street without realizing it. As he turns and looks his head down the road, and he sees a truck about to just slam into him. Deku just braces himself really quick, and then he doesn't feel anything. He opens his eyes, and he sees that everything's frozen. He sees a bird mid-air, mid-flap, not moving. Deku's just like, what the heck? And then he looks back at the truck and is just like, I should probably get out of here. As he runs over to the sidewalk, and just everyone looks at him, and they just see a streak of lightning. The driver gets out of his truck and sees if he hit him. He looks around and he sees that he never hit anything. He looks at Deku and is like, wait, you were that kid that was just right there. What, you have a super strength quirk? Deku's just like, no, I only have a regenerate. What? As then the truck driver's like, oh, whatever. Just don't look before you get on the road, please. As he slams the door of his truck and just drives off. Deku's like, that was weird. I need to get to Star Labs. As he goes to Star Labs, he meets Cisco. Okay, he barges in, actually. No, forget everything I said. He barges into Star Labs and just like, I have super speed. All of them turn around just to see Deku just standing there. It's like, Izuku, what are you doing here? Deku's just like, I have super speed. They're all just confused. They're like, what are you talking about? As Deku dashes, they just see him by the doorway of the cortex to right in front of the cortex. They're all just like, okay, now we see what you're talking about. And they just say, how fast were you moving? It's like, all we saw was a streak. Deku's like, I don't know. That's why I came here. They're just like, Harrison was just like, Cisco, you still have that friction prototype suit, that prototype suit, right? Cisco's like, you have to be more detail, please. The firefighter one, the friction resistance one. Cisco's like, yeah, I saw that one. Then he's like, get it, we're gonna need it. As Cisco goes and gets them, Caitlyn and all of them get out into a training field, and Deku gets in the suit. And if you've seen the 2014 Flash, you know what I'm talking about. That looks like a cosplay fail. And yeah, Deku's like, what is this? As Cisco explains, well, he was tinkering with it. It was so firefighters could withstand the fire and friction. Deku's like, okay. Then Wells said, okay, if you guys are done having your little chit-chat, we'd like to start the test. And they're just like, oh, yep, sorry. As they get over there, and Deku gets on one of those track and field things for your feet. I don't know what they are. I'm not a track and fielder. And then Deku hears in the overcom, run, Midoriya, run. As Deku just dashes. He's feeling great. He's like, this feels nice. And then he gets memories of that night, the night that Inko died. Deku is just like, oh shoot. As then he wipes out. Because he sees himself starting to fall, and then he completely epic wipe out it. All of them are just like, whoa, what the? Okay. What just happened? Epic fail. Cisco just yells, epic fail, dude. And then Deku's like, yeah, I know that one, as he passes out. So they see how his wrist is completely... It's not the way it should be. They text they take X-rays and they see that his bone is completely shattered. And Deku wakes up, like a few hours pass. Deku wakes up and he's like, ah! Wait, where? Oh, I'm back here. As they're just like, you see, you're awake. As they take an X-ray of his wrist again, and they're surprised, like, what? As Deku's like, what is it? As they show him an X-ray of right after he did an epic wipeout. Deku's just like, wait, but I don't. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels a bit sore. Then Caitlin puts up the X-ray of what his wrist looks now. Deku's just like, no, that's impossible. Caitlin's just like, yeah, my wrist was completely shattered. Now it's only a slight fracture. They're just like, yep. As a minute passes and he's completely fine. Oh, there goes my papers. And yeah, that happens. Then Deku's just like, I'm gonna go home. They're just like, yeah, you probably should. We don't want to worry your folks. Deku's like, yeah. As he goes back home, and he walks in the door, and then Joe says, where have you been, Midoriya? Or, where have you been, Izuku? Deku's like, oh, I went to Star Labs. And he's like, why is that? As Deku's just like, this is why. As he dashes. He was like in front of the door, and now he's by the patio door. Because I'm going to say they have a patio door. He's like, wait, what? You have super speed? And he's like, yeah. As then Iris comes down and is like, what's all the commotion? Then he says, Barry has super speed. She's like, wait, what? And Deku shows his super speed. They say, congrats, man. As then they eat dinner or the leftovers from Iris's feast. And yeah, then they go to bed. Next day, he goes over to Star Labs and trains on a treadmill that was designed to have no speed limit. And yeah, this pretty much happens for the next. Okay, so he's out for the next 5 months. So there's 1 month left until the entrance exam, and then they're like, you know what time it is? Deku's like, what? Sisto says, field test time! Deku's just like, wait, field test? How can I do that? Then they're like, well, pretty simple. We listen on the police scanner and look at our satellite for anything unusual, and we send you. Deku's like, wait, I don't even have a suit. Then Cisco gets a big grin and says, oh, yes, you do. As he brings out a suit. If I find a picture of that suit, I will put it up on the screen. If not, I'm sorry. Kind of can't do it. Or I can just bring it up. Okay, first suit. Okay. So he sees okay. Hold up, it'll be a second. It's almost here. Shoot! Why am I hitting? What am I doing? Okay, then I'm gonna click this. Okay, this is the suit that he had. This is the suit that he has, and this was his testing suit. That failed cosplay suit. So yeah, that happens. Then they pick something up and they see it's a small time crook. And they're like, hey, go. And then Deku just dashes out of Star Labs. The robber just sees a streak of light. He starts shooting at it. Deku just sees the bullet coming out of slow-mo. Deku just taps the bullets out of his way. And then, next thing they knew, the crook is in handcuffs, and the handcuffs are tied to a pole. Or maybe not tied, but he's stuck to a pole. The police come and it's like, what the hell? As then they ask around and they say, we only saw a streak, or what seemed to be a streak. And then next thing we know, the crook's tied up or put to the pole. Then they're just like, vigilante maybe? And they're just like, yeah, the only hero we know that has something like that is O'Clock, but he's retired. They're just like, interesting. Maybe O'Clock's child? Maybe. But they just list him as the Streak. And yeah, he goes home and eats and everything. Or no, he goes back to Star Labs. They somewhat party for the job well done, and then he goes home and eats dinner and goes to sleep. And I think that's where I'm going to be leaving this What If off. Like, subscribe, do all of that, and peace, you beautiful souls.